Welcome to Ambleside Flourish, brought to you by Ambleside Schools International. This is our special series, Ambleside Moments, with Mary Ellen St. Cyr, founder of Ambleside School of Fredericksburg, Ambleside Homeschool, Ambleside Schools International, and contributing author of When Children Love to Learn.
Bringing children up towards maturity. The task before us is to bring up the children in our care as parents and teachers, with the intention to orient them towards maturity, what it means to be an adult in the highest sense of the word. We have been created with an infrastructure for habit. Each of us has many more habits than we often want to admit because they are categorized as both bad and good habits. Think for a moment. What are some of the habits you have with your children and they have with you with regards to entering a room? Do they initiate a greeting of, "Good morning," or "I'm home, Mom"? Or do they wait for an interaction from someone else in the room and respond accordingly or not? Is the response a greeting or a sullen or silent response? Often this is explained away. She's not a morning person. He's our introvert. What are the habits your children have with regards to leaving the table at mealtime? Do they clear their plates and utensils or put them in the dishwasher? And when asked to take a glass that was left at the table, they respond, "That's not mine." One can easily see the habits in the wrong direction and even in the right direction are minimal at best. What does it really feel and look like for a community, a family, a school, a church, to be together engaging in reciprocal relationships of life-giving habits? So often when thinking of being together, instead of using these opportunities to be with one another and grow in relationship, we act according to our nature, our natural tendencies, and for the most part we stay where we are. In order to grow, to change, a proactive stance is needed. As a young teacher, I enjoyed when we had school times designated with parent interaction with the children, well, at least on my terms. I detested the times when we had classroom parties or field trips when I expected the children to act as they did in the confines of the classroom and the teacher's authority, and it became quite chaotic quickly. When I realized the dilemma, the adults nor the children had clear expectations. I began to communicate in preparation of our time together. First, the students. Parents will be coming to share in an afternoon of poetry. They are our guests. Let's talk about how we welcome guests into our classroom. Some students were assigned to greet, others to show them where to sit. During the time of refreshment, some students served punch, others introduced themselves to parents and shared appreciation for their coming. After the parents left, we all cleaned up and the students and I sat on the floor together and enjoyed sharing our impressions and interactions, and the cookies too. With regards to field trips, parents were assigned with specific responsibilities and students designated to their group. Assigned seats were given in each car. The music played were the compositions enjoyed by the composer we were studying. The 1 to 2 students who were in need of additional support were designated to be with the teacher's group. Charlotte Mason gives us a vision for the ideal in bringing up children. Why aim lower? The child is born with certain natural tendencies, and according to his bringing up, each such tendency may run into a blemish of person or character or into a cognate grace. But the bright eyes, the open regard, the springing step, the tones, clear as a bell, the agile, graceful movements that characterize the well-brought-up child are the result not of bodily well-being only, but of mind and soul according well, of a quick, trained intelligence, and of a moral nature habituated to the joy of self-control. So often we as adults forfeit the opportunity to bring the children up out of their natural tendencies for a variety of reasons, one being we tend towards the things before us, the preparations, the food, the house, the dress, etc., and another because we are lazy. No one really wants to admit to laziness, but after saying over and over again aloud to myself, "My files are so disorganized, I cannot find anything. I need help organizing my files." After spending some time reading about how to organize files, I realized I already knew how. I masked the real problem with my language. After all, I'm okay with being disorganized, but not with being lazy. And lastly, In order for change to occur, one has to believe that growth is possible for all, including the adults. These tendencies are to be reckoned with ourselves first and then with the children. For some, the ideal set before us seems overwhelming already, just the mere thought of it. When faced with these kinds of discussions, ask yourself, what's the alternative? What will the children be like if left to their nature, in the car, at church, at home, with oneself, with God, with others? Because we're not stagnant, we will not stay the same. And in this 21st century, we have a cultural web worldwide that has permeated ways of being in the world, contrary to the life-giving habits we want for our children, vying for our attention, which will easily entangle both our children and ourselves. Charlotte Mason talked about high ideals. It is time we set ourselves seriously to the work of moral education, which is to be done most of all by presenting the children with high ideals. Lives of great men all remind us to make our lives sublime. And the study of the lives of great men and the great moments in the lives of smaller men is most wonderfully inspiring to the children, especially when they perceive the strenuousness of the childhood out of which a noble manhood or womanhood have evolved. As one thinks towards the future, no truth strikes one more than Wordsworth's "The child is father to the man." The debilitating habits formed in the child will be seen in the adult, man or woman. These bad habits don't simply disappear because of physical maturity. Why not be intentional as a parent or a teacher to bring about real growth and change with the children before you? One of the beauties of the human spirit is docility, a teachableness, a universal and fundamental principle which works hand in hand with that of authority, as the ball fits the socket to make a working joint. Upon this principle of authority hangs all possibilities of law and order, government and progress among persons. Because these principles of authority, as well as that of docility, are inherent in children, it is only as the tact and judgment of the parent and teacher make opportunity for their free play that the children are prepared for their duties of life as members of society through the family, church, and school. These two principles, authority and docility, are at work when change occurs. How to bring about this change practically follows, using the family table as an example to cultivate family relationships toward growth. 1. Give inspiration for the why. The mind adheres not to information but to ideas, and these ideas work in ways of connecting. Envision how things can be, what needs to be present, and what needs to be eliminated. One family I know envisioned the family table as a time of connecting, creating bonds of life-giving conversation. Hence, some discussion was strictly eliminated from the family table, such as negatively bonding through discussing other persons' foibles. Parents and children learned more about one another, their experiences, their curiosities, their questions, and the conversations flew in many directions. 2. Instruct in the step-by-step progress. Assign the work of preparation and cleanup to be accomplished by the children. Be very specific with placement of napkins, dishes, and silverware, seating, and cleanup. Chores don't need to be changed each week or even each month. Duties change when maturity occurs. More responsibility is given. 3. Ensure the vision is realized through adult oversight. Is every place setting complete? Have all the dishes been cleared? Another family I know sets the table after dinner for the morning breakfast. The cereals and all the accoutrements are orderly arranged on the counter for their taking. A welcoming sight awaits as one comes to the table in the morning. It says, "Come and be a part." 4. Use simple prayers to align our hearts toward our Father. Be present at our table, Lord. Be here and everywhere adored. These mercies bless and grant that we may feast in fellowship with Thee. 5. Establish habits of inclusive, honoring, thoughtful conversation through example, and if need be, some purposeful guidance. So far as the daily routine of small obediences, we help children thus to fulfill a natural function, the response of docility to authority, as well as providing them with life-giving habits of being with one another and alleviating from them the effort of decision in these relational encounters. Charlotte Mason talks about the effort of decision here. She says, "But it has been well said by a celebrated preacher that the effort of decision is the greatest effort of life. We find it so ourselves. Shall we take this line of action or the other? Shall we choose this or another quality of carpet, send our boy to this or the other school? We all know that such questions are difficult to settle, and the wear and tear of the nervous tissue the decision costs is often evidenced by the nervous headache it leaves behind. For this reason, we may reverently believe that we are so marvelously and mercifully made that most of our decisions arrive, so to speak, of themselves. That is, 99 out of 100 things we do are done, well or ill, as mere matters of habit." With this wonderful provision in our tissues for recording repeated actions and reproducing them upon given stimuli, a means provided for easing the burden of life and for helping us to realize the happiness which appears to be the divine intention for us so far as we become like little children. It is startling and shocking that there are many children of thoughtful parents whose lives are spent in day-long efforts of decision upon matters which it is their parents' business to settle for them. Mason continues with this example of Maud. Maud is nervous, excitable, has an overactive brain, is too highly organized, grows pale, acquires nervous tics. The doctor is consulted, and not knowing much about the economy of the home, decides that it is a case of overpressure. Maud must not do lessons for 6 months, change of air is advised, and a milk diet. Somehow the prescription does not answer. The child's condition does not improve, but the parents are slow to perceive that it is not the soothing routine of lessons which is exhausting the little girl, but the fact that she goes through the labor of decision 20 times a day, and not only that, but the added fatigue of a contest to get her own way. Every point in the day's routine is discussed. Nothing comes with the comforting ease of a matter of course. The child always prefers to do something else, and commonly does it. No wonder the poor little girl is worn out. We have spoken about educating out of these natural tendencies. The principle of replacement is at work here. Begin new habits of being with one another, in the car, at the table, in the pew, and at the desk. Initiate a vision for being with the children. What is the ideal? Do you really want to begin every ride in the car with an argument of who sits where? If you assign seats at the table, might this also work in the car? The question is not, will children develop habits in relating with others at home, at school, and at church? This is certain. But what kinds of relational habits will they develop at home, at school, or at church? Let's use life for both the adults and the children through the deliberate work of instruction in habit.
Ambleside Schools International fosters an educational renewal based upon the pedagogical insights of British educator Charlotte Mason. Serving an international community of parents, teachers, and schools, Ambleside makes a living education accessible to all. For additional information regarding Ambleside Schools International and training opportunities for principals, teachers, and parents, please visit our website at amblesidschools.com.